Good morning, students. This is the last presentation from the story to build a fire. Here in these slides, I have given you few questions and the answers also. So, like referring closely to the story, to build a fire, answer the following question. Describe the man's repeated attempts to keep himself warm. This question carries 8 marks. So the probable answer to this question is, which I've given you in bullet points, you have to describe these points. The man, a solitary hiker, and his dog depart from the main Yukon trail to reach the Henderson camp. The next point is the temperature was about 75 degrees below zero. The man's confidence to reach his destination. After covering a good distance, the man stops for lunch. You can give quotes also from the text. He feels that his unprotected cheekbones freezing. He builds a fire to warm himself. The next point is the dog sits beside the fire and you can describe the dog's expression. The man resumes his journey and then next. His fall into a concealed spring, his next difficult attempt to build a fire, all these has to be described. I have given a quote. It was as though he had just heard his own sentence to death. He decides to build a fire again, his struggle. He gathers dry grasses and tiny twigs. How he reached his pocket, his difficulty in taking out the matchsticks. 20 times he scratched before he succeeded. Then how he catches the whole bunch, that has to be described. This scene clearly shows that the man is a determined fellow. The second question, contrast the attitudes of the man and his dog, carries 6 marks. So the first part is of the man. First point, the protagonist was a confident person. He carries with him thermometers, woolen clothes, maps, matches, and some birchbarks. You have to describe the entire things that he carried. Showed physical and mental strength, how he was so confident, he was determined to complete the road to reach his destination. That also you have to describe. He is proud of his rationality. He is smarter than his dog, of course. You can give some quotes where it's mentioned about the relationship, how he misbehaved with the dog and how he was smarter than the dog. The man was without imagination, works only on reasons that very well we can understand. He does not consider nature as something that would overpower him. This is the biggest mistake that he had done. At one stage, the man feels a great surge of envy on seeing the dog warm and secure in its natural covering. So, what was his plan? You can write that also. Now, let's talk about the dog. The dog's knowledge was more reliable. It had inherited this knowledge. The dog was disappointed when the man resumed his journey. You can quote how the dog felt when the man wanted to go further. The dog was only a toil slave. Yes, again, the relationship of the dog and the man comes. The dog was not interested in the man's welfare, rather, it was worried about itself. Again, you can quote here. When the man dies, the dog considers its own survival. This we can know from the last page, the last part of the story. When it senses the death of the man, it moves towards the camp where it would get food and shelter. Its instincts are more powerful than the man's intelligence. I think I have given you a lot of notes regarding the dog's instinct. The last question, which carries 6 marks. What does the man finally learn from his experience? The bullet points are: the man realized his folly to travel alone, and that too on a snowy day. The real hero is one who is firmly determined to achieve his goal, but he must develop the ability to think of the future consequences of his present action. So he accepted his death with dignity. He realizes that his end has come. There was no use to cling of hope anymore. Children, you need to quote here. He surrendered, and this gave him the peace of mind. The last part. The note of the writer. This proves that in such extreme conditions, instinct is a better guide than intellect. So, this is the final theme of the story.